Hey everybody, this is Tracy here to recap Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 9, Episode 6, and this episode was entitled Tastes Like Trouble. So on Sunday evening, I received my bachelor's degree from the University of South Florida. Go Bulls! And I totally forgot about all the shows that I normally watch on Sundays so that I can do the reviews, so I'm trying to catch up. Now that they've moved Married to Medicine to Friday nights, I don't know how that's going to work out because who's home watching TV on Friday nights? But if I do continue to recap that show, it'll probably be later because I'll have to catch it on demand later on. I want to give this disclaimer up front because when we get to Kenya and Matt later on, I was a little bit perturbed. So I want to make sure I get this off my chest before I get into their part. In my 20s, I'm 52 now. I think I've said that before. And probably into my early 30s, I did have friends who behaved just like they are behaving on this show. But over time, they grew up and eventually went their separate ways and, have matured and become better people in life. And I think most of them are probably married now. And I've also had friends, four actually, whose relationships ended in murder-suicides where the guys ended up killing the girls, but we were all friends. And I actually have another high school classmate who survived an attempted murder-suicide where the guy did go on and kill himself, but she survived the gunshot wounds. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was the Saturday before Easter. We have a shopping center here in St. Petersburg. Well, it used to be, the shopping center is still there, but back in the day it was called Central Plaza. And she worked at this store called Colony Shop. And he showed up as she was getting off from work and opened fire on her. And I remember her trying to run back into the store, and they locked the door and wouldn't let her in. And then she tried to run to the Walgreens next door, and they locked the door, and he just stood over her and shot her multiple times. But like I say, by the grace of God, she did survive that. And so I take this situation with Matt and Kenya really serious, and it's not something that I think should be played up for TV ratings if it's not real. And I honestly don't believe that it's real. I think it's all scripted that they're going through, and at the very least Kenya is manipulating the situation for her storyline. Matt probably does have some serious issues, but I think Kenya is playing into those issues so she can perpetuate the drama and have scenes from week to week. And so I think a lot of us at some point in time, in our 20s and 30s, we probably were in chaotic situations where we really liked someone and they weren't reciprocating the way that we wanted to. But I think, we grow out of that and we grow up. And so when I see women Kenya's age, I just don't think that she should be making a fool of herself over some young dick, because that's basically what it is. She's acting like somebody that has gotten some good sex and doesn't know how to let it go when she knows she needs to let it go. But we'll get into that later. I just wanted to get that off my chest because I think when I got to the end, I was kind of emotional and angry and upset. So I wanted to put that out there first. The show opens with Phaedra, and she's arriving at her office, and photographers are waiting for her to get off the elevator. And I'm not sure if they were like real photographers or what this deal was going on, but they looked like local people to me. Not really like, I don't know, I'm not going to say they weren't professionals. They probably were like bloggers, not actually from newspapers or the TV stations. So she agrees to talk to one of them, and I think his name was Freddie. And as they go into her office, we have media flashes of news coverage that took place, and it was more like social media news coverage. And we find out that the guy who actually showed up with the alleged grenade was a rapper by the name of Drama, and I guess he was popular in the 90s, although I've never heard of him before, but that's not to say he wasn't a big name back then. And so Phaedra tells Freddie that she's known Drama for 20 years and that there wasn't a real bomb, that he had some bomb CDs. And when he mentioned the word bomb, that people freaked out, and they actually racially profiled him. They saw this black guy and thought he was disgruntled and angry and whatever, and that the whole situation just really got blown out of proportion, and that there wasn't a bomb at all. Okay, Phaedra, we're going to go with you with this here. And so, go ahead and get your security protocol in order, because you never can go wrong with actually having a plan in case you need one. And I want to give a shout out to the Nation of Islam's 10,000 Fearless that she actually had in her little security meeting scene that were going to help her come up with a plan. Cynthia pays a visit to Kenya, and when she walks in the house, she's throwing shade, and she tells Kenya that she's glad she got rid of the IKEA furniture that she had in her house. And I'm like, girl, I can't with you right now. And so I guess some time has passed since the beginning of the season, because it appears that Kenya's house is finally finished, and it is really nice. And so the decor I really liked. It's very streamlined and very tastefully done. I like the whites and the grays and the silvers. I think that works really nice and kind of goes with Kenya's personality as well. So Kenya pulls out that Gucci cake that she made for Matt's ATV birthday party. And I don't know how much time has passed since that party and when Cynthia arrived at her house, but she still had the cake in the refrigerator. And so Kenya explains, to Cynthia that Matt didn't show up for the party and that he had actually gone out to California to be with his sister. And so she tells Cynthia the whole story about, she posted the picture for Throwback Thursday of her and Jay-Z, and that Matt freaked out. We heard that story in the last episode. So she shares that same story, that she gave to Candy and the others at the ATV party, and about him being immature and all this stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, Kenya, if you think that Matt is the issue, then maybe you're the one, that needs to grow up and move on from this relationship. And so, Cynthia's being the friend, that she is. She doesn't tell Kenya that she, what she needs to hear. She's basically telling Kenya what Kenya wants to hear, which is basically that, she's a strong, beautiful woman and she deserves so much better. And, she deserves a strong, independent man. And if Matt's not the guy, then maybe Kenya should let him go. They then move on to Cynthia and Peter and how, Peter is on a media tour talking about their breakup. And I guess Cynthia wanted everything to be peaceful and done, behind the scenes without, the media being involved or their business being disclosed in the public. So she feels really blindsided that he's going on Wendy Williams and all these other talk shows saying that, he felt betrayed by Cynthia and that he had no idea, that she was going to file for divorce. And then the conversation goes back to Kenya and Matt, and, and here she goes playing the victim, and, all I want is to be loved. And, she thought Matt was a great guy, and she realized he was younger than her, but she wanted to give the relationship a chance. And I just really can't with Kenya. I just really, really need her to stop with this nonsense. And so we move over to the Old Lady Gang restaurant, and things appear to be coming along a whole lot better. And I really like what I'm seeing. I like the decor, with the wood floors and how the walls are done and everything. And so hopefully they'll get open soon, because I'm still not hearing anything in social media about the restaurant actually being open. And so, Candy comes in and she reminds us, all so well how far behind they are and that they're missing deadlines. And then she starts harping on the fact that they only have like 45 days left before they may have to reapply for their liquor license. And that the liquor license is very important to the restaurant business, because you want to be able to serve people drinks. And so we know that they can't let that happen, and hopefully things will, move along. And so there's a chef that shows up, and I thought that Candy said he was going to be the chef for the restaurant, but this guy is he has on one of those chef jackets, but it has like a logo or name or something on it. So I don't know if it was his name, and maybe he has a catering business on the side also. But he's there because Candy wants to do a food tasting, because she says that the girls are really harping on her about, when is the restaurant going to open? Are they really going to open the restaurant? So he's going to cook the food for them, and they're going to do a tasting, but I think they're going to do it at his establishment, wherever that is. Oh yeah, Todd informs us that they've lost their general contractor and that now he's the general contractor on the project. And so I guess in Atlanta, you don't have to have a license to be a general contractor. But here, Todd, you would have to go through the board and pass some exams in order to be talking about you a general contractor building something in the city. Oh, and then when the camera went to the outside, I was thinking, you know, they haven't done anything out front to even make this look attractive or appealing, putting signs up or anything. So I hope they have some good plans to kind of beautify that whole situation and make people like want to come to the restaurant. So on to Portia, and she lets her mom know that, you know, she's looking for a new house and that she has 45 days left on her lease. And Lauren shows up with some boxes because she's ready to start packing. But Portia's like, you know, they still have 3 weeks before she has to be out. So I guess Portia thinks that there's like 15 days in a week, I guess, because how do you go from 45 days to 3 weeks? I don't know, but we're talking about Portia. So, you know, Portia drops the bomb that, you know, the reason she's looking for a bigger house is that she wants to have a baby. And so, you know, their question is, well, do you have a man? And so Portia tells them that, you know, that she's dating this guy named Todd and that they're going to have this family together, which left me very confused because I thought when Portia asked Todd about being the sperm donor for her, that Todd said he wasn't trying to have any more kids. But somehow they have gone from him not wanting to have a baby with her to now Portia thinks that they're actually in a full-blown committed relationship. So I think on the previews for next week, she does introduce Todd to her her mom and her sister. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. And I'm just thinking with Portia and her craziness, you know, she's about to be in the corner with Kenya, you know, getting excited over the wrong things, making divine signs out of stupid statements that men make, you know, when they're trying to get in your drawers. And you know, this whole, he called her up after she got married and told her she married the wrong Stewart, you know, and that because his last name is Stewart and that she might be Portia Stewart again. Okay, Portia, this is what the old folks meant when they said putting the cart before the horse. You know, you're just moving a little bit too fast and you need to slow your roll, girl. Then we have Mama Joyce. Lord have mercy. Why is she walking around like she's damn Pink Panther, sneaking around with shades and trench coats on and all this stuff? And so she's at the law office of the guy. I think he was the lawyer that handled Todd's prenup when him and Candy were getting married. And so Mama Joyce is at the man's office trying to get some information on divorces in Georgia because she is so obsessed with Phaedra and Apollo's divorce that it's about to drive her crazy. So she's asking the guy, and his name is Kessler. Was it Rod Kessler? Kessler was his last name. But anyway, so she's asking him all these questions about, you know, if your spouse is in prison, how hard is it to get a divorce? You know, and the guy tells her that, you know, when you're married to somebody who's incarcerated, it's pretty easy to get a divorce. And actually in Georgia, it's easy to get a divorce, period, because as we saw with Cynthia and Peter, the guy told them that they could be divorced like, at first he told him, I think he said 5 to 6 months, but then later in the show, Cynthia actually goes to see her lawyer, and we find out that they could be divorced like in 2 months or so. So evidently it's easy to get divorced in Georgia. But why Mama Joyce is obsessed with Phaedra's divorce is beyond me, because Phaedra isn't thinking about Mama Joyce. So while Mama Joyce, you know, is snooping around and trying to get information to go back to Phaedra to help her with her divorce issues, Phaedra and her mom are talking, and she's telling her about her visit to see Apollo. And we learn in this scene that it actually was Apollo who requested the divorce. And so Phaedra decided to go ahead and get the paperwork done. And then according to her, once she got all the paperwork done, then Apollo didn't want to sign the paperwork, and that was the delay. And so I guess when she went to visit him in prison while she was in town for the DNC, he did agree to go ahead and move forward. But then I was watching the Wendy Williams show, and she was saying that Apollo is saying that Phaedra is the holdup because she spelled his last name wrong on the divorce papers, so that delayed things. But I think that as of now, you know, this is post-filming of the show, but as of now, they are officially divorced. But I don't know if it's come out in the media yet, but it seems like I keep hearing that they are officially divorced at this point. So then there was this quick scene with Kenya again, and she's riding in her car with her dogs, and there's some music playing, and her hair is blowing in the wind and all this craziness. And so she's trying to call Matt, to ask him to come back to Atlanta so that they can talk, but her calls keep going to voicemail, and then when she gets into voicemail, she gets a message that the voicemail is full. So I'm assuming that it's full from messages with Kenya begging him to come back. And so she's really acting like she's in her 20s and not her 40s. At Candy's food tasting, the original members of the old lady gang, they come there with their little specialty dessert dishes. And so, Mama Joyce is happy to know that Phaedra is going to be there, so she could be Petty Betty, which she is best at. And even Aunt Bertha, is throwing shade towards Phaedra. And I'm like, what did Phaedra ever do to Bertha? So anyway, the ladies began to arrive, and I'm going to be honest with you, that food was looking really good. It had me wanting to go. There's a food truck that we have here in St. Pete called Heavy's Food Truck that sells some good soul food. And I was looking at that food on that countertop, and I was like, dang, I wonder where Heavy's going to be at today. But I had to quell that because the last thing I need to be doing is eating any soul food. So while they're sitting down eating, Sheree decides to let Mama Joyce know that Kenya was talking about her wig. And so Kenya swears that Sheree took it the wrong way, and that she didn't mean that she didn't mean any harm with what she said, but she didn't say it, I think, the way she said Sheree said it, whatever. And so Cynthia rolls in, with this humongous, that afro I was telling y'all about. But this time it looked like it had done grown a few extra inches. And I'm just like, I don't know what Cynthia's going through, because in one scene her hair would be really cute, and then she comes in, with this crazy afro thing going on. And I think she's just trying to find her way to get through this divorce that she's going through, because I think it's hurting her more than, I don't know if she's hurt that her and Peter are over, or if it's just a pride thing that she wasn't able to prove everybody else wrong. After Cynthia arrived, then Phaedra showed up. So Phaedra comes in, and then Mama Joyce gets up to greet her and kind of pulls her off to the side. And so she's telling Phaedra, that she was sorry to hear that her divorce hadn't been finalized yet. So then the other ladies are at the table, and they're like, well, what's going on? Why did Mama Joyce pull Phaedra to the side? So Candy gets up, and she goes and she breaks it up, and she's like, Mama, get your ass in there and sit down at that table and putting up with your foolishness. And of course, she didn't cuss at all Mama Joyce, but she basically said, let's go eat and don't be petty. Leave Phaedra alone. So even though Candy didn't want her mama being messy with Phaedra, she threw her own shade, when she was in her confessional, and because they were sitting at the table, and somebody asked Phaedra about the guy showing up at her office with the bomb. And so, Phaedra's giving them the same story that she had given us earlier when the show opened up. And then she moved on to start talking about, Black Lives Matter. So when Candy was in her confessional, she was like, oh, I got to stop her right there. And since the incident, Phaedra has been riding around with the bodyguard. And I don't know if the bodyguard had actually shown up at the food tasting or not, but the way Candy said it in her confessional, it sounded like there may have been a bodyguard with Phaedra at the dinner. So, Cynthia, she's sitting at the table, and the camera keeps panning over to her, and she just looks so disinterested. Like, of all the places she could be right now, why is she sitting at this table with these women? And so I don't know if Cynthia is coming back next season, because I think her course on the show has played out, and she's pretty much over it, based on the way she's looking. And so for some reason, out of the blue, Sheree brings up Block and Riley. And so she's kind of like revealing some of the things that her and Candy has shared in privacy. Remember when they were I think they were at the gym or something a couple of episodes ago, and Kenya was sharing with her, not Kenya, and Candy was sharing with her about, the whole situation with Block and Riley, and how Portia used to date Block a long time ago. So Sheree took it upon herself, like I say, to bring it up. And so Candy's like, why are we talking about Block and Riley? And then she moves on to Portia and was like, so, what did he say when you guys were dating? And the other women were sitting at the table like they had no idea that Portia used to date Block. And so Portia handled it very well. She didn't get upset or angry, and she pretty much was like, I dated him, way after Riley was born, and when I met Candy, I let Candy know, so that's really a non-issue. And so the conversation pretty much died down at that point. So the show closed out with Kenya and Matt. So I'm going to give y'all this line that Matt gave us at the end of the show, but I don't want, like I said, I want to give it to you now because it pretty much summed up everything that happened from this point on. So Matt said that Kenya is manipulative and fundamentally deceptive. And that is how he sees her mental state in terms of their made-for-TV relationship. So keep that in mind. So when we see Kenya again, she's on the phone and she's crying to Cynthia about Matt coming home from California, and he was drunk and acting crazy and she wouldn't let him in. And then she says that he kicked in the glass. I guess her garage doors are made of glass and they're like glass panes, and so he kicked in one or two of the glass panes. And now remember, it was her ass that kept calling Matt, begging him to come home. So now that he done came home, she don't want to let him in, which I guess increased his anger and set him off. So keep that in mind. So, Cynthia tells her that, she has a plane to catch and that she has to leave. So when she gets off the phone with Cynthia, she goes to one of the producers, a woman named Joy. And so she's boohoo crying again. And so she's telling the woman, that she loves Matt and she really wants to work things out with him, but she doesn't know how to deal with his anger issues and why he's being so immature and why he wants to fight all the time. And no sooner than she finished talking to Joy that she turned around and go and call Matt again, begging him to come over. I'm just like, this is so crazy. But this stuff happens in real life, but it is so damn crazy watching her act this out on TV. But anyway, so, she gets Matt on the phone and he apologizes and he says, can you give me one more chance? And so, he asks her, can he come over? And she says, yeah, the production crew, they're getting ready to leave, but you can come over and we can talk. Okay. So it appeared to me that several hours had passed, just by the lighting and where the sun was when she was first talking to Matt till now that Matt is there. Look like, the sun has shifted a little bit. So Matt pulls up and he immediately sees that the production crew is still there, so of course he's upset about that and he's asking her, why are they still there? And so then Kenya pretty much goes into like this passive aggressive mode where first she's whining about she wants to work things out. Then she becomes overly aggressive where she's telling them off, like, you're not going to be doing this to me and I'm better than this, and just back and forth, just fanning the flames, and Mike and Matt is falling into her little trap, so we get to see the inner workings of how these destructive relationships take place. So the psychodrama, is what happens, like I say, in real life to real people every day. And I really don't appreciate Bravo, allowing Kenya to make this serious topic part of her storyline if it isn't real. And so, all this begging him, to get out of the car so she can put on this performance to point out, all his faults instead of letting him go on about his business is just craziness to the nth degree. And can someone please tell me why so her and Matt, she's trying to get Matt to get out the truck. He won't get out the truck. She opens the truck door and I think he closed the truck door back. And so they're going back and forth. But then next thing you know, Matt said he was leaving. Then Kenya walks to the back of the truck and then I'm like, okay, so does she want him to run her ass over? But then she opens the back, it's an SUV. So she opens up the back gate and takes out his suitcase. And then she comes back around, but Matt doesn't say anything like, why do you have my suitcase? But then Kenya starts, begging him to stay and, can we work it out and give me one more chance and all this stuff. And I just like, what the hell is going on right now? And then I think Matt ended up driving off, leaving the suitcase and, everything that was in the suitcase there with Kenya. So, child, I just don't know what to say. I don't know. So that was it for this episode, thank God. So how do you guys, I'm not even going to talk about the Kenya and Matt situation in my question for this video. I'm going to move on to Sheree and Candy. So how do you guys feel about Sheree bringing up, information that Candy shared with her in private during a moment of weakness? And if you were out with friends and someone did that to you, how would you react? So leave your comments below and let's get the conversation started. And also rate, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until next time, love and blessings. Bye-bye.